Welcome to TRN Podcast, episode 123. Today, we're taking a look at something really fascinating, sparked by some recent, pretty eye-catching news. We're talking about the sighting of a huge basking shark off the coast of Croatia. Our discussion is based on recent news articles and, well, a really impressive video of the encounter.
Yeah, that footage is quite something. And what makes this particular sighting so noteworthy, I think, is just the incredible size of the shark and also how close it was to the shore. Many of you listening might have seen similar reports, so today we want to dig a bit deeper into the really interesting aspects here.
Absolutely. Our goal today is to understand more about this gentle giant, the basking shark, and maybe separate some facts from fiction when it comes to these ocean behemoths. So let's get into it and take a closer look at these amazing creatures.
Okay, so maybe let's start with the sighting itself. The reports mention it happened on Sunday, April 13th, near the Kvarner-Bucht. A fisherman from Riesenhaie named Kamera actually filmed it.
Incredible. And it was really close to the coast, right? Just a few hundred meters out.
That's what the sources say, yeah. Very close.
And this fisherman, he posted the video on a Facebook group.
Right, which translates to something like Living World of the Adriatic Sea.
Yeah, and the comments underneath really show the strong reactions people had, don't they? Things like, a beautiful beast, but also comments like, I would die of fear, that kind of range.
That spectrum of reactions, from awe to, well, anxiety, is pretty typical when people encounter large sharks. But what's really key here, and marine biologist Pero Ugarkovic points this out in the articles, is that with basking sharks, there's absolutely no reason to be afraid. He really stresses they are completely harmless to humans.
That's such a crucial point, because naturally you see something that large and the word shark automatically triggers a sense of danger for many. But just looking at the facts, what kind of size are we actually talking about? How big do they get?
Well, the articles mention some really impressive dimensions, up to 10 meters long. And one article even mentioned 12 meters. Imagine that as long as a coach bus, and weighing up to 4 tons. That makes them the second largest fish on the planet, right after the whale shark.
That's just staggering. But for something that enormous, what's actually on the menu, you'd instinctively think a giant like that needs pretty large prey.
And that's where it gets really fascinating, actually. Despite that immense size, basking sharks feed exclusively on plankton. They're filter feeders. So picture this. They swim along with their mouths wide open, filtering tiny microscopic organisms out of the water, like a giant living sieve.
So basically the gentle giants of the ocean, living filters for tiny stuff. That's such a huge contrast to the fear-inducing hunters of the sea, as Ugarkovic described other sharks. And the video seems to confirm that calm behavior, right? The shark seemed pretty unfazed by the boat.
Totally. It apparently circled the boat slowly, showing no signs of fear or aggression, and then just peacefully moved on after a while. It's very different from the image many people might have of sharks. And, their English name, basking shark, actually comes from the fact they're often seen near the surface, looking like they're just soaking up the sun.
Ah, okay. That explains the name. Interesting. But where do you usually find these peaceful giants? Are they mainly Mediterranean creatures?
No, not at all. While they do prefer cooler to moderately warm waters, you can find them in various oceans. The Mediterranean Sea, yes, but also the Pacific and the Atlantic. They're pretty widespread globally.
Okay, so that brings up the obvious question, one that listeners might be wondering too. Why are we seeing more sightings closer to coasts recently, like this one in Croatia? Do the sources offer any explanations for that?
Yes, they touch on a few potential factors. One significant point is the warming of the oceans. This seems to be affecting the distribution of their main food source, plankton. Plankton blooms often occur in nutrient-rich, warmer coastal waters.
Ah, so the sharks are basically following the food, following the buffet closer to shore.
Exactly. That seems to be a major driver. They follow their food source, sometimes right up close to the coast.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there other reasons mentioned why we might be seeing them more often near the coast?
Well, another important factor discussed is increased protection measures and a reduction in fishing, including bycatch in certain areas. So as their habitat becomes safer and the risk of getting accidentally caught decreases, they might be returning to their natural habitats.
Which sometimes include these coastal areas.
Precisely. The articles also briefly mention reproductive behavior or migration patterns possibly playing a role, though without much detail, so it's likely a combination of factors.
Okay, that's understandable. Fewer disturbances, maybe richer food sources near the coast. It could all contribute to us seeing these incredible animals more often. The articles also mentioned other recent sightings in the northern Adriatic, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in December 2024, an 8-meter basking shark was filmed off Medveja. Then in March of the same year, there was a sighting near Trieste in Italy. And even before that, in 2023, one was spotted near Pula in Croatia.
So it seems these encounters aren't completely rare in that region anymore.
That's right, the frequency in that specific area seems noteworthy.
But the closeness of this latest one to the fishing boat, as described, that still stands out, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. While occasional sightings happen, the way this particular shark interacted with the boat approaching it, circling calmly for a while, that does seem quite unusual. It gives us a rare glimpse into their behavior, perhaps showing less fear than we might expect.
Fascinating. So wrapping things up, the key takeaway seems to be this. We're talking about a truly massive creature, a gentle giant, but one that's completely harmless to humans because it only eats plankton. That's an important point that might adjust how some of us think about large marine life.
Exactly. And the increase in coastal sightings seems linked to a complex mix of environmental changes, like ocean warming, but also potentially positive developments like conservation efforts. These are significant trends for us to keep an eye on, definitely.
Which, of course, leaves us with a pretty interesting thought to consider. If we're seeing these gentle giants more often near our coasts, what other surprising marine animals might also be venturing closer than we realize? And what role do our own activities play in these changing patterns and encounters? Something to think about regarding our perceptions of the ocean world and, the importance of getting accurate information.